Welcome to Sonderlings, integrating Troika system. Let the bio ride begin.
Hey folks, welcome back to Sonderlings. As per the usual, I'm Danny and joined by Carly, DB, and Jacob. Say hi.
Hello.
Hey.
Oh goody, we're back. Last session, shenanigans ensued. You started out having restarted your cycle in the Mushroom Grove. Unfortunately, Vigor was still an amorphous blob, and so Pith and Nimbus had to try to handle things just with Vigor's incessant chirping and flapping. And you decided to, play some things the way that you did the first time through, like turning the leader into a frog and doing all of that. And then when you went to go take the camp, you realized Vigor's a blob and he can't cast spells. So Nimbus tried to bear the weight of that. It went decently. It wasn't a complete disaster, but you've managed to take the camp, and you are now in the camp, and the ruffians have been dealt with, and I need to know what's happening next. What are we all doing?
I am charging down this hill at maximum speed, slowly oozing forward.
So we tied up. I feel like I broke two femurs,
You did.
and we tied everybody up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so everybody's been tied up. You also, gagged them all, and...
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go get Vigor, who must be close by now.
Vigor has been moving faster and faster as he's moved down the hill, and as you go to, pick him up, you realize that there are some bones in this sack. They're not all back, but most of them are back. So movement is still a little bit tricky, but it seems like in the next few minutes you'll be back to your old bony self and
Awesome.
be able to
I thought you were gonna
handle things.
I thought you were gonna say you realize that he's actually fine. He just hasn't realized it yet. He's still snail crawling.
Yeah.
You're doing the worm across the...
Oh God.
That would have been
You just-
way better. I wish I'd said that, but I'm not funny.
Moving sluggishly. One more again.
Yeah, that's one.
Already.
Well used. But
Already.
So I'm gonna prop
wait.
Vigor up. Go ahead.
speaking of sluggishly, I do feel like we should make note of this because we didn't at opening, and I know we will have on social media. But I want to go ahead and apologize to listeners out there who do not follow us on social media and maybe did not get the heads up. I know this recording is dropping a little bit late this time around, and unfortunately, two of us, myself and Danny Baker, who play Vigor, live in the Pacific Northwest, which just got hit by that horrific heat wave. We are also in Seattle, which means we are in one of the least air-conditioned cities in the country. So unfortunately, it was over 100 degrees for several days and too hot to run any computers. So we could not actually run our recording equipment, and we apologize for the delay. While my character is thinking about that, though, Pith is also checking to see whether or not that slake is in the jar, because I can't remember. I've got with all these time jumps, I can't remember whether or not my slake is away, and that guy's a rascal. So
the
I'm a little
slake would have
concerned.
gone back to its condition that it was in when you arrived in the Mushroom Grove, which was
Okay,
safely
good.
in its jar. You also, while inspecting for the slake, realized that you only have 3 slake eggs, because
Oh,
the 3 that you got last time don't count because everything started again. That's how this works.
No grinding, no camping. Because we
So you
could
can't
really.
just egg farm.
Yeah. How many of those mushrooms can we get?
Well,
You
as
don't even
I'm...
know what the slake eggs do. They could bring about the doom of everything.
That's true.
One can only hope. I say, looking at Igor. So I wipe a little bead of sweat off of my brow, but I do look at the team. with a face of disappointment, noticing that I am down some slake eggs, looking over at the tied down individuals and looking at my capped slake. I rub my chin for a moment and say, well, boys, you think we should be maybe heading out to see if we can find some more of these enemies? I think our old girl might be hungry. And I tap the little edge of the glass. Slake withers about a little bit, I assume.
Well, I was to say that you have acquitted yourself well, and you have beaten these opponents. And my hands blobbishly to kind of do the little, like this, but my fingers are fat and just full of blood and bits of bone, and so they go. You've done very well for yourself. I'm quite impressed. I thought for certain I would have to come down and rescue you, and I limply throw this it feels like a wet sack of clothes over your shoulder, Nimbus. You have made me beam with pride. And what? Because I also don't have teeth, right? They're just coming in because those are bones. And
Oh
so
no.
I do a real toothy grin.
I don't like that at all.
Wow, yeah. Well, you're getting better finally. You were on your way. That's what counts. We knew you were coming
Yes.
down to help.
I beat a slug on
You
my way
did
down.
you?
I did, yes. By a hair, I did. It was-
I don't know what you guys think, but I was thinking let's get out of the clearing and into the woods a little bit. So when these folks come down, we won't be sitting ducks.
I look around for the large mushroom in this timeline. It has not yet been felled, correct? That giant one?
I mean,
So
there are a
those-
ton of giant mushrooms around you, but yes, the specific one that was felled last time has not been felled this time.
Okay. So in that direction, can I see what lays beyond? Is it just very dense,
It's just
mushroomy
dense.
forest? I kind of point in that general direction to the group. Boys, I guess if you're looking for cover, we could go in the direction that they were trying to tear down. I mean, it's got to be something valuable over there, right? Something they were trying to get to. Maybe we can beat them to the punch. If these guys are whiling about out in the mushroom grove, it's easier to probably go where they're going than to try to track them down.
So if we leave signs that that's the way that we're headed, then we can they'll come thinking that we might beat them to whatever it is they're trying to get to, and then you can release your slake once we get them into the woods.
Absolutely. I love the way you're thinking. Two birds, one stone. Two goblins, one slake. However they say
Egg.
it.
All right, so are you going to be heading that direction, kind of cautiously, leaving? Like, are you purposefully leaving signs that you're heading in that direction?
Oh, I'm pulling out granola and actively leaving a
Oh, God.
trail of granola crumbs.
Okay. You weirdo.
How quickly can Slake consume mushroom?
If you're asking this in game, I
It
don't actually know
depends.
if our girl has tried. I don't think.
Yeah,
Like-
it
like
depends
what-
on the size of the mushroom.
Because I was, like the redwoods when they'll tunnel through a redwood tree.
Yeah.
Could you hold a Slake up and put it on a mushroom and it
Just
will
hold it in front of you like a
burrow-
flashlight.
Yeah, and it will, burrow through? Could we cut through the dense jungle with such a Slake?
From your experiences with the slake, you can deduce that while it would be capable of doing that, it would not be interested in doing that. It didn't like mundane things. If you remember, it actually scorned your granola.
I'm upset about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so it likes more interesting stuff. So if this
Okay.
was like a magical mushroom, yeah, but these aren't. These are just giant mushrooms. So it would, if you really, really coerced it, like with the promise of future magic things, you might be able to get it to do some tunneling, but it would be very curmudgeonly about it.
I'm imagining a flavor, like a seasoning packet that you have to spread on the mushroom. You're like, oh, this is diamond dust. So actually, I have to season it because my slake is very picky.
Coming up with you're
Oh.
industrializing the slake is what you're doing, TB.
As we're talking about this, I throw a finger up. I mean, in game we're talking about some variant of this, right? Isn't that how this works?
Whoa,
So-
rude. Use a different finger. I know what that one means.
I put fingers up on all of my hands, some jazz fingers for you, and I
Ooh.
say, Vigo, didn't I pass you that container of kyanide? That and the salt slick? Isn't that there's something you got in there that I bet you could dust on some mushrooms that would have some sort of an impact, dry it out, do something of use? Or did you leave those on the ship?
I can't. I don't feel them on me.
Hold on.
You
I
I
passed
look you up
those
and
to
down, and I
him.
remember that you're a gelatinous cube.
You also passed those to him last turn, like last
Oh,
run.
so I probably still have them.
So they would
Yeah,
still
yeah.
be in your possession. What were you gonna say,
Okay.
Jacob?
I was just gonna ask, I feel like we're acting like this is impenetrable.
It isn't.
Is this okay? So we can just go.
Like, you
Yeah,
can't
that's
see
fine.
in any direction, but it's like old growth forest. Like, you can see 20, 30 yards, but beyond that, the way that all these trunks are, they're kind of overlapping the vision. Basically, look at the thing that's behind Carly, like the backdrop behind Carly. That sort of, like, you can't really see through it, but you can easily step around these trunks. Like,
Yeah. So
for
theoretically,
now,
it looks
they
more
seem
like
to
they
be
were.
getting more closely clustered as you go in that direction, but you can easily just walk.
So you're saying there isn't mushroom around us?
Yeah.
That was
I could
good.
just
That was
quit.
good.
That might be the best one yet.
I
Oh,
hate
come
you.
on. That was a good one.
That was horrible. Okay, fine. Continue, you heathens.
Well, I still need time for my bones to come back. I'm almost there, but
I feel like I've got you kind of over my I've got you under the arms, and you're kind of walking, but you've got that wet crackle pop sound,
Oh,
and
yeah.
as you try to kind of walk.
Yeah, this sounds like if you stuck a microphone directly into a bowl of Rice Krispies as you poured the milk over them. That's what Vigor's
Okay.
movement sounds like right now.
Like
just
a
bunch of
claymation zombie
wet
is kinda what you
crunching
look
and
like.
crackling. Really, really just not good stuff. You can tell that this is not
hurts.
this is not beneficial for Vigor's health. So as you traipse further into this mushroom forest, you can see that, so sort of off to the diagonals in front of you, it all seems to stay about as thick as it is where you're walking right now, but it gets more dense the more you center right in front of where you're walking. This is clearly the direction that the bandits were going in. And as you're walking, you're struck by the fact that the mushrooms are getting more colorful, and they're getting more weird and freakish looking, more unique. You can tell that this is really where the vast majority of the different species grow, and it would have been horrible for this place if they had been allowed to continue their work of cutting these mushrooms down. Because the big ones at the front, they're just big mushrooms. These seem to have weirder properties. Some of them are phosphorescing, some of them are giving off scents, but if you talk about it, they're different to each one of you, so it seems to be lightly psychic scents that are reading your minds and giving you the sense that it thinks you want at the moment. And you continue to get this sense of the surreal and otherworldly as you walk deeper into this grove. And after about 15-20 minutes of solid walking, Vigor, you are back to your old self. The crunching and crackling is mostly stopped. There's still the occasional pop. Um, but you're back. You are fighting fit, and the three of you are facing an impenetrable wall of woven mushroom stalks. They aren't woven in the sense that it looks like someone did this. They're woven in the sense that it looks like the mushrooms did this. So it is a very natural, organic weave. It doesn't have the order that it would have if a being did it, but you can tell there's almost like a will of this specific area that is creating an obstacle for people to not be able to get past. So, as you stare down this wall of interwoven mushroom stalks and caps that are glowing and shedding spores that seem to sparkle in the light and giving off all these scents, what are we doing?
I am fumbling through my bag to try to find that salt stick.
Okay.
And I am
assume by
doing
your-
stretches.
You just keep popping your neck, and every single time you do, it like is this gnarly pop.
Yep, that
so
one
this-
feels good.
This wall of mushrooms, is it like, does it look like it slopes around like it's a big circle? Is it just right in front of us, or what?
It definitely seems to. It's a gentle curve, but it curves away at the edges. It looks like this is a part of the forest that is, if not completely, then partially encircled by these mushrooms. You can try walking around it to see if you can find a point of ingress.
I mean, like from the slope of it, how big is the diameter? Just guessing. Is it just slope away really gently, like this is gonna take forever, or is it pretty tight?
Um, it's somewhere in the middle. It would probably take you about an hour to walk
Okay.
the circumference at a brisk pace, and at a brisk pace, you're looking at about 3 miles around.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so
So
it's not
so
like
what
that
were
big
the
across. The circumference is going to be far bigger than the
right, right,
diameter,
right, right.
but
What were the other? Because it wasn't just the hourglass mushroom. Weren't there some other mushrooms, Pith? I can't remember.
I chuckle when you ask me that, and I go, "Do you mean back there in the that beautiful like illusion of grandeur that we just walked through? Because there were a lot of mushrooms back there. Or do you mean in this grove of mushrooms that I don't necessarily fully recognize, or just the ones that we discussed with Boston?"
That's the ones we discussed with Boston. Like, didn't he? What were they? Do we remember?
There was the hourglass mushroom, the one that gave us the visions, that our friend here did not tolerate so effectively. I don't think any of those are a part of this. I'm looking this thing up and down. There's nothing here that I recognize interwoven. Like these all seem way too magical to probably be something that I would be familiar with, right?
not necessarily magical. They are so out of your sphere. Like, I would imagine at this point, Pith is kind of having a mini, like, freak out over these mushrooms because you just don't have a clue.
Yeah.
They are that different and not like innately magical, but you can tell, like, any one of you could tell just by being in close proximity to this wall that there is a will about either this mushroom wall or something deeper in this grove that you would not have expected from fungus. But yeah, it is outside of your sphere of influence. There are a couple of like the tamer looking ones that you would, if not recognize, at least be able to, like, you're very familiar with mushrooms, so you'd be able to like guess at their function just from identifying features. But most of them are like completely unknown, uncatalogued, unheard of.
Far beyond
Variations.
even the mycology department of the varsity. Heard that.
Like
So yeah,
you, Pith, would probably know more than the mycology department at the Versity.
let's be honest,
And
it's part of the reason we stayed. We were pretty knowledgeable.
yeah, and yeah, so way far beyond their knowledge if
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
stumped by this.
Yeah. So yeah, glancing this thing up and down, with a real look of concern on my face, I turn back to you, Nimbus, and I say, "Listen, I've seen a lot of mushrooms in my day. I've never seen anything like this." And I grab the salt stick out of my bag and I say, "There's one thing I know about mushrooms, though. Regardless of what type, very few can tolerate uh too dry of a climate, if you know what I mean." And I start trying my best with my weapon to kind of get some powder off of this thing. I have to grate it a little bit. There's a grate somewhere in my bag, I think maybe that came with it.
There is a little grater that came with
Okay,
it.
cool. I dig it out. And I try to do some powder. Now I have to roll when I have
Mm-hmm.
um, I test luck.
Yes.
Is this wall, does it curve over like a dome or is it just a wall?
Um, it actually kind of curves out towards you. Think
Okay.
like prison fences. So like you're not
Right.
climbing it. It goes up and curves out, and it's at least 12, 15 meters as it starts curving. Like this is a
Okay.
very tall wall.
Beautiful.
How was your
So
roll?
I rolled a 7, but I have a luck
Okay.
of 13 because it reset, so I think I should be good. Um,
You
otherwise, for
tested
those
luck
listening at
last
home,
time.
oh, so well then 12.
Keeping
Um,
you honest.
Thank you. No, I couldn't find my sheet, and I was like, I know it's high enough that I beat a 7.
Yeah, you did.
My base is a 13, so it's like I didn't use half of my luck. I'm pretty sure. Um, Otherwise, on a fail, I would have accidentally inhaled dust, and that would have caused me to lose 1d6 stamina. So,
Yeah.
luckily, I know enough about this, so I don't want to get any of this in my lungs. So I try to get like a good amount of dust, and I start to approach the wall. Real look of fear in my eyes, but I can't imagine any other way to maybe weaken this very seemingly powerful large mushroom thing, and I don't want to walk 3 miles around it. I'm trying to get through. I'm
Okay.
fascinated.
As you
Doing a little experiment,
get within about 3 meters of this wall, several tendrils snake out of the wall faster than you're able to move, and like
Okay.
grab your wrist and turn your hand over and spill all of this dust onto the ground, and then gently just slap you across the face and retract.
Ah, I've never met a mushroom that wasn't as much fun as our old friend Boston, if you know what I'm saying. Wow, this one's sassy. Like, I look back up and down at this giant wall and stick my salt stick right back in my bag.
How
Start
dare
to kind of
you!
rub my chin a bit, trying to think of what else might be a good approach.
So I'm gonna pop my fez off, and
Mhm.
because I do have my little thaumaturgical fez,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah, you
haven't
look out.
barely referenced, but I'm gonna pop it off and I'm gonna be like, okay, let's try this. Good evening. What time of day is it, by the way?
It just consistently feels like evening.
Okay. Good evening, Mushroom Wall. Is there something that we could do for you to allow us to pass? And I just kind of look over at Vigor. I'm like, I feel crazy right now. I feel really crazy. But hey,
Do not debase yourself in front of this wall of mushrooms. And I point a now bony finger at this fortification and say, Wall, if you do not spread open and let us pass,
Hey, sir, I cannot have that
I
kind of
shall
language. I
burn
cannot
you to the
have
ground.
I put 2 hands over your mouth, 2 of my 4, and
I
looking you dead in the eye. I say, I will not have that kind of language spoken about a symbiont. All right.
I'm
You
gonna
have no idea what these funguses might contribute to the biosphere here. I mean, sure, we got to get through it, but you don't need to offend the mighty being. And I give Nimbus a little wink, like I'm trying here.
offend. No,
I'm gonna shake my staff a little bit, my little jingly staff, since I never dropped it off. I'm gonna shake my
Yeah.
staff and I'm gonna wave my hand and say, Melon.
You are an incorrigible idiot.
Yes! Sean Connery! Yes!
Nice. I immediately do a bit of a bow when I hear this voice. Oh, great mushroom! Way to hear from you, friend. I'm so glad that you
stop
finally.
that. Stop that.
All right, all right.
No,
I stay in
no,
a slight curtsy.
no. Why are you here? And why are you bothering me? I'm very tired.
I whispered to the group, yes, now he is bargaining with us. He must be scared. I shall take the lead on this. And I step forward proudly.
And immediately one of the tendrils snakes out and just smacks you across the face. No, we don't want to talk to that one. He has fire and we don't appreciate it.
Oh,
Well, may I humbly introduce then our actual leader? Excuse this one; he's a bit of an issue sometimes. And I do a bit of like a rolling gesture towards Nimbus, and another little wink.
Can we hear anything of the guys that were supposed to be coming back to the camp? Have they followed us or anything?
That's a very good question. You can hear, it sounds like there may be some people heading this way. They're definitely not close enough that you'd like immediately have to do something. You've probably got a good 5 minutes before things get to the like get out of sight range.
Do all of us hear this? I assume not just him.
No,
Okay.
no. The one who asked hears it.
Okay. I'm wondering how loud they're being. I mean, it might just be.
They're not being well. They're being decently loud, but they're not close enough for the decently loud to be actually loud. Like they're not being quiet about what they're doing, but they're still a ways away. So you'd have to be like really trying to figure out if they were following to catch it.
Okay.
Look, it's been an exhausting, trying time for us, and we are not interested in seeing visitors at the moment. Why are you here? Quickly, we're tired.
Well, there was a fog that was like a pink. I'm not sure. Is rouge a color that's like, you know what? There's a fog.
No,
And it,
we know about Salandria's fog. We know why you're here, but why are you here?
oh, well, we were stopping the um ruffians that were I'm sorry, one more question. Where is Bob?
Bob has seen fit to eschew your company.
I see.
Yes, they are not particularly fond of you, especially the red one.
wait, who's wearing red? Oh, I see. I see this mushroom.
Recognition dawns slowly.
Perhaps Vigo, you and I should step back and let them speak privately. We could watch the entrance for you. I mean, they probably are headed this way. And I kind of usher Vigor a little bit further away and give Nimbus a nod as we start to kind of walk a little further
Yeah.
from. The
Yes, we
mushroom.
can do a little surveillance on this mushroom man. I could go this way, you that. We'll circle him, and I'll chop him with my axe.
There
So
will
I'm
be
gonna
no chopping, Vigor. Shh.
No
Shh.
chopping? No chopping? In a forest? Makes no
chopping,
sense to me.
no fires. And I kind of
And
push
no
him
fire.
forward.
Oh, you are on thin ice. I swear.
All right, so I'm gonna relate to the mushroom voice.
Mm-hmm.
What basically what happened, and we left, and you know we apprehended some of them and left them tied up in camp, and then came this way trying to lure them away from the camp, and then our plan with the slake.
Oh, I see. Well, you know what they were after, right?
No idea.
It's inside here. I'm actually supposed to be guarding it, but it is rather energetic and exhausts me.
I see. So you are guarding it? Or are you like keeping it? What is it?
Yes, we're both guarding it and guarding others from it. Um, it is an insanely powerful piece of artwork that,
Hmm,
were it to fall into the wrong hands, might be used for nefarious purposes.
I see.
Now, I can let you in to take a look if you'd like.
Is that safe?
Well, if you promise to keep your red friend on a leash, and a rather tight one at that, I might be persuaded to see if we could work together for a time.
Well, that would be much appreciated. I don't know if we're the right ones for this piece of artwork, but I know the ones that are chasing us are probably not. They're definitely fall in the category of nefarious.
Yes, we would assume that they have the most ill intentions in
Mm,
mind.
I would say
Well,
so.
we probably shouldn't stand about gabbing all day. I'd imagine that you're in something of a rush to get away from the nefarious creatures that are currently sneaking up on your compatriots.
Yeah, let's do that. Do you have any problem with us letting this slake have a snack, or would you rather us just dip in to see this art?
Slake. Now there's a name I haven't heard in quite some time. Hmm. Bring it to me. Bring it to the fence, and I shall assess it. They can be
Gotcha.
rather precocious in their early years.
All right, so I'm gonna go quickly and quietly gather Vigor and Pith, since I was told that they were being snuck up on. So I'm gonna try to do it very quietly and get them into some cover and then get them to the fence. Obviously relating to Pith what the mushroom said.
Okay. What are we doing?
So you tell me that this man wants to assess my slate.
The mushroom wall wants to assess your slake.
The entity. It's two.
Yeah.
The, the community of fungi. When you tell me that, you see that I clutch my bag quite tightly, very concerned about it. He wants to test my little Cece, my little cleanup crew. You can't have my girl. I've already lost one lady on this road, another one back after I first left my home planet. You want to take my baby now? I mean, I've been protecting her and these eggs this whole journey.
Who
So
are you
many
addressing,
Point
timelines.
Blit?
of fact, he is not a girl. He is a young male slake, and I know it's odd that he lays eggs, but those are a byproduct of consuming a living being bent on evil ways and giving them the opportunity for a fresh start.
Interesting.
I glanced back with a look of concern at the mushroom wall. I didn't know you were close enough to overhear my conversation, but good to know. And
Like,
I
Do you
glance at my
not
slake and
understand that all
whispered down.
mushrooms... Hold up. Do you not understand that all mushrooms are part of one mind? You could be standing at the furthest reaches of this forest, and were I of Such an inclination, I could hear your every word.
Well, to be honest, I know that that does work for some fungi. I'm aware of some that reach across entire multiverses, but um, did not necessarily know that this entire one was like one big soundboard. Probably would have been good to know earlier. Perhaps we could have called upon you immediately upon entering this world. We have been through quite a bit.
I would not have listened. I needed to
Well, that does not surprise me. That does not surprise
assess your actions and character before being willing to contemplate this arrangement. Now,
Well, regardless, I would like to say that even if old CC here is a he, I do not judge gender, and I love him just the same. And I'm not so certain that I can trust you with his well-being. So far, all I know is that you have spied on us and not done a whole lot to be of assistance, and apparently are I don't know separate from Cylindria. Does she know you're here and that this is why they're ruining her whole grove?
one may say that you have not done much to assist us as well. Rather than bumbling about and getting yourselves turned into bags of bones and eating far too many mushrooms to span you back in time to the beginning of this cycle. Yes, I've seen every one of your bumbling attempts at what you would refer to as help, and while they are entertaining, it has taken me time to assess your character. Now, Salandria and I are of a like mind and wish to protect the grove. She is occupied sustaining your presence here. I am the one that you would speak to. And also, as to why you would trust me with your slake, it's clear that I have a far deeper well of knowledge regarding this creature than any of you. And I merely wish to inquire as to its character, because while it's been here, it's spent most of its time trapped in a bottle, and it is not easy to see the character of somebody trapped in a bottle. I think you might agree with that.
I met
I
a
mean-
genie once. Oh, different. The Slake, yes.
I'm not sure if he's lying.
Nobody is. I mean, it obviously knows more about the slake than we do. I mean,
Listen,
I had
in
no
my
idea
knowledge,
that the eggs were going to hatch out into the people that it ate to like give them a new chance. I was thinking about eating one of those eggs, and I'm glad that I didn't.
Mhm.
A little reincarnation for breakfast. Yes.
all I have to say about that is, in my experience, having driven around, even with the two of you in our past with pirates, those who know the most about valuable items are usually the ones who are looking to sell them or who have a market on them in the first place. And I look this big wall of mushrooms up and down, and with the most serious of expressions, say, I'm still not sure that I can trust you. I would be happy to allow you to judge his character. However, I do believe that at this point, we have been together for quite some time, and I'm not so certain that I would trust him, alone out here in your forest. I don't want him to cause any sort of a ruckus, and I definitely don't want him to go missing on me.
Well, then go away. Our business is concluded. And you can see that the wall just kind of like crosses its arms and harumphs and steals itself even further if possible. And you can tell that there's still like an entity there, but they've sort of done the whole like fine and just turned their back on you dramatically. And like, if you're going to be that way,
So I am looking at my two companions with a furrowed brow, and you notice a single tear falling down my eyes as I clutch this little slake bottle. What do you guys say to me?
I'm going to say, look, it's a giant talking mushroom entity. Like, I would honestly trust this thing with maybe I'm just a little bit more chaotic, but I would trust this thing with anything I've got on me because it's a giant talking mushroom entity thing. Like, for one thing, what's it gonna do?
That is my very question. I think we should see what it can do. I
I
think we
lean
should.
in as the tears falling and say, "You guys have got to remember that I come from a place that worships a god that feeds on mushrooms. That's not exactly a lengthy relationship that I can trust with the fungus folk, okay?" So far, they have been very judgmental, probably because they still smell the frog on me, okay? And I'm not so certain that I'm willing to trust passing this guy over. But what I will say, as I sniffle just a bit and I untap the slake jar, is look down at my buddy. Whatever you want to do, friend. If you want to stay here with this big, grumpy mushroom guy, I'm okay with you staying. If you want to come with us, I promise I'll keep you fed. I'll keep you close. I'll keep you moist when you want to be. It's up to you, buddy.
As soon as you uncork the bottle, you can see tendrils start reaching out towards it. And not quickly. They're like slowly threading their way, almost creating a small bridge between the mouth of the bottle and the wall of this mushroom forest. And you see your slake like pops his head up tentatively, seems to be considering it, and then just like pops out of the bottle and just sort of slurries his way along this bridge. And you hear, yes, that's much better. At least one of you has some sense. Hello,
My character
small one.
is now full force sobbing.
Okay.
Full force sobbing as she is leaning on the now reboned Vigor. They always leave, Vigor. They all leave me.
What?
And I
I'm
lean on
not
him for a
going
little bit
anywhere.
of support. Well, I guess that's fair. That's fair. At least so far.
Would the two of you mind quieting your companion? I believe they're under the assumption, for some unknown reason, that I mean to make off with their companion. I'm merely inquiring of it what its business here is. So
We
calm
heard
them.
him.
It is
and
okay, Nimby. It will be okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're
Shh.
welcome.
I'm trying to listen.
So
I'm
you
sitting
can,
on the ground at this point, still crying. You're just in a
so
corner.
you can hear the slake is actually conversing with this mushroom entity, um, in words that none of you could come close to understanding. They're conversing with scents and with gestures and with words, and it is this intricate sort of communication and very, very like intimate communication between the two of them. And the slake, you can hear it give a little crow of delight, which is like the first time you've ever like really heard it vocalize. And it gives this crow of delight, and then faster than you've ever seen this thing move, whips off down the path that you all came up, and you hear the mushroom entity chuckling. It seems that the young one is rather excited about going to greet some ruffians in the forest. They'll
Well, there you
return
go.
when their business is concluded. Worry not, young toad.
He's still very upset. He's
That's
still
fine.
very upset. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you guys have all like, especially the companions, would have traveled with him long enough to know that at this point, like, he never does well when he's by himself. Like, when Quith died, before he like really got started to get attached to the slake, wasn't doing very good at all. like you know that his religion is based on being two halves of one whole. So it's like you just know that he's a little more support probably than usual right now, and Vigor really threw a cold shoulder.
What did
They
you say,
sh-
Beagle?
I say, be quiet. We're being followed. Stop your
No.
crying. There is battle to be had.
He tries to
Hush
stifle
up,
it.
all of you.
Yes, be quiet,
Oh.
all of you. Yes, let's go this way. I mean to take charge.
Okay.
Nimbus, you got those bells silenced. I whisper to you as I wipe one of the last of my tears off my face.
You can't. Unless you were
Well-
to lay your staff down on the ground and leave it behind, like, there's no way to silence it.
Well, I just
But
look up at the
you are
mushroom
going
wall and I say,
through the wall.
that's what I was
Yeah.
going to say. I look up at the wall. I'm like, do I need to be quiet?
Not necessarily. And as the entity says that, you see like a portion of it in the shape of an arch sort of unravels itself and folds back and opens and keeps opening. Not wider, but deeper. And you realize that this is like 30 solid feet of just interwoven mushrooms. Like, there's no way anyone is getting through this wall without
Wow.
permission. Like, it could be done with enough brute force, but it would be a terrible thing to do. And so I assume the three of you are going to enter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I gasp as the depth of this thing is unfurling ahead of us, and still kind of a little shaken up and glancing back at the woods, back at the giant, thick, wondrous wall ahead of us. I say to Nimbus specifically, have you ever seen anything nearly this beautiful? Oh my goodness. Good call, friend. Good call. I nod very approvingly.
Quite a sight. I am glancing back, like kind of waiting to hear the blood-curdling screams of the ruffians that were chasing us as the Slake finds them. But I am moving forward.
Yeah, you
Make-
are. Sorry, go.
Oh, I was gonna say that Vigor stands, and as the tunnel kind of opens up, takes a deep breath, and then he stares at the whatever kind of form this mushroom man has taken, and he stamps
Mushroom
his
colony.
he stamps his axe into the ground. He points a finger up at it, and he makes a promise that I have traversed the many spheres. I have been reduced to a bone of flesh, or to a bag of flesh. I have died in my mortal coil and returned. So do not think for a second, mushroom man, that if you crush me here, I shall be done. I shall turn into a ghost and haunt you for the rest of your days. So make no play on me.
Nimbus just kind of like leans in because Nimbus and Pith have already entered, right?
Yeah.
So we're starting in. I'm just gonna lean in and be like, just let him get it off his chest. He's a good guy. He just has to do this every once in a while.
I'm taking two arms and trying to pull Vigor inside. Come on, friend, you gotta check out the glory that is this giant wall. My goodness. Just kind of rolling an eye at like your general ridiculousness.
Yes, I just
Pointing
wanted
up.
to
Look at this.
make my stance clear, of course, and to protect us. For I know you need it, and I throw one arm over you, just for a moment before I retract it. Say, but we should be on our way.
So the three of you are moving into this wall. The way that this like tunnel is it seems to curve, so you can't clearly see the end of it. And as you're walking in and this tunnel's curving, you can feel the outer mushrooms closing in behind you. Not quickly, like not in a threatening way, in a like this person takes their personal security very seriously, or this entity does. They're not leaving any chinks in the armor. And so as you kind of round the last corner, you see in front of you is a completely open sort of, like, I don't want to use the term meadow, but meadow's the best term for it. Just full of small, absolutely brightly colored, like, toadstools. Think traditional, like, magical mushroom, like with the fat stalk and the cap and the dots on it, but they're all different colors and all the dots are different colors. And it's basically just like, it looks like a meadow, but it's all toadstools with just enough room to kind of thread your way through them. And this whole area is shaped like a bowl. So you are going down an incline towards the center, and in the center there's a mound. And this mound is covered in these toadstools as well. And you can see that there's an opening in the mound where you can actually go inside, and the walls are covered with phosphorescing lichens and mushrooms. And you're still a little ways away. This is not like right in front of your face, but this is the picture that you're getting from the scene. And also, this
Very
is the
nice.
first time in what to you feels like days that you've actually felt sunlight. Because it's always been kind of overcast and dusky, and you've always had this mushroom canopy overhead, and there's nothing overhead. There's no clouds. The sky is a bright vermilion. The sun, this anti-sun, kind of beats down on you. Like, it's a crazy place.
That's cool because like once you said that everything like we were getting close, like in my head we were basically under a black light,
Mm-hmm.
like where everything's kind of glowing and the mushrooms are all glowing, and the whole time it's been like this
That's
very
very
trippy.
much the feel that you get from an anti-sun, is like a black light, just a giant one.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, my eyes are alight as we enter this kind of meadow scene. If there ever was a heaven, my goodness, it would look like this, wouldn't it? Whew. And I am stopping to sniff every mushroom. I'd lick a couple.
Not understanding the fascination with nature like this, I stand around and I'm more curious about Pith and Nimbus than I am about the grove itself. Yes, well, we're here, closer, I suppose, as I scratch my chin under my mask.
I'm gonna just pat Vigo on the back and say, "Let's press on and
Oh.
move towards this." You said there's an opening right in the middle.
Yeah, you can see an opening in this mound that's in the middle of this depression. And as you get closer and closer to it, you can just hear the murmuring and mumblings of this entity, whatever it is. Just, yes, yes, it's rather clear where you should be going at this point. I hope I can trust you to not mess this part up. Yep, nope, no, red one. Do not step on that. Step around it, not on it, around
Well,
it. No,
scared? Well,
no.
shoe's on the other foot, isn't it? And there's a bone in that shoe, in my foot. So,
I snap
Keep
my
on your
head
toes.
around in your.
I wasn't doing anything, Pith. I was
Keep-
right. I was standing right next to you. I wasn't doing anything. I was
Keep
being,
on your
being good.
toadstools. Perhaps.
No, that was not good. That's 2 strikes, and the session's over. I quit. I'm never coming back. Screw you
Uh-oh.
guys, I'm going home.
Oh, no.
All right, so
I
as
shoot
you
your foot
continue
away.
further, you get to this opening in this mound, and it is a very organic opening. And as you've come up to this mound, you realize that this mound is a mound of fungus. It's all kind of grown together in this domed shape. And as you go in, it's phosphorescing and you can see, and it's beautiful because there's all these different colors, and you can see that there are crystals and gemstones that are growing up from the ground. And they seem to be organically growing, which is a very odd sight. If you know anything about geology, that's weird. Um, and and everything gets weirder and more intense the closer to the center of this mound that you get. And there, hanging impossibly in midair, is a giant canvas. It is massive. Weirdly enough, were the three of you to compare notes, none of you would think that it was the same size, but all of you know that it is like incomprehensibly large.
Okay.
How are we
So it's
feeling
big.
at this moment?
Now, is this a thing where it is beauty in the eye of the beholder? What do I see? What does Vigor see as it looks at the canvas?
Vigor, you see what is the single greatest work of art that you've ever seen in your entire life. And as somebody that probably doesn't have an appreciation for art, this is still like, it is moving you to tears because of how, like, the 1,000-pound canvas came into being, created, whatever its origin stories are. None of you know. Those have been lost. It exists to show everyone the thing that will speak to them the most in a piece of art. So I'd imagine that all three of you are probably just like openly weeping, looking at the majesty of this, and none of you are seeing the same thing. It's all completely different stories. And as you're standing there, you hear a slight buzzing coming from one of your pockets. And I forget who has it, but one of you has a small pocket mirror.
I believe it's NIMBY.
Yeah,
Is
I
it
think
me?
I
so.
believe it's NIMBY. And do you remember who that connects to?
That would be Tiffany Bardidley, would it not?
That would be Tiffany Bardidley. Are you going to answer the call?
Yes. I'm gonna
Okay.
pop the thing open and be like, "Hey, Zed's Mule Barn Jackass speaking." No, I'm not gonna say that because I'm like emotionally distraught. Like viewing this gorgeous canvas and everything. I probably wouldn't be the first
You've
thing that
been
popped into my head.
sobbing, and you're
Here's
just
the
like,
deal. You already said it, and that means it is the first thing that popped into your head. And that is such
Through
a
the
Zed
tears.
thing that
Yeah.
it doesn't even matter.
Beautiful.
Because if you remember, Tiffany hasn't seen any of you in your new forms. She
Oh, yeah.
didn't believe you last time you talked to her. And as soon as you say that, you can see her look a little quizzical and be like, "Oh yeah, the mat pre. I forgot about that. Hey Zed. Sorry I didn't believe y'all the last time. I totally forgot about the mat pre, and it looks like you died. How'd that feel?"
Not like much, to be honest with you. I don't remember a thing.
Okay, well that's not bad. I'm just calling to try to get a feel on your progress. See where you are in the spheres. What's going on? I'm still, I really want a copy of that canvas, and I'd love it if you could help me figure out how to get one. And you can see she like starts sniffing and goes, "Oh, good lords, you found one. You found one. All right, so you're gonna have to tell me where it is, because I would absolutely love to, create an ethical viewing room of this canvas.
How did you know that we'd found it?
I may or may not have put some tracking magic in this here mirror, which is why I knew to call you right now, and it's totally not Deus Ex Machina. This is they're good story plot driven reasons for this, and it's not just your GM being a lazy piece of crap.
Okay, well that's good to hear. I never suspected that for a second anyway.
All right.
I don't.
Well,
I'm not.
that's great. I'm glad that you've got that confidence in him. I don't think he deserves it, but it's great that you've got it.
Well, he's got to have some confidence, or he wouldn't dress the way he did.
Oh, there we go. Love it.
So, here's the deal. I just give me 1 second. Can you do me a favor? Can you put that mirror on the ground in front of you? And then just Vigor, sweetie, is the mirror on the ground?
Huh? Who-
Yeah, I set the mirror.
Who
I set
is,
the.
who is that? Who are you talking
Vigor,
to?
you hear this voice? It's coming from the mirror. Doesn't it make
Yes.
you mad that you hear this voice coming from this mirror? Doesn't that just make you want to break something?
Break something?
Yeah.
In witness of this beautiful, beautiful canvas, I am charmed. I'm
Oh, it's
bedeviled
not
by
working.
it.
Step on the damn mirror, Vigor.
What? A mirror? What
God,
is this
any one
mirror
of you,
doing
just
here?
step on the mirror. Just do it, please.
Wait, what do you want?
Step on the mirror.
Yes, but why?
You'll see in a second. Just, sweetie, like, we've been friends for a while. Just trust me. Step on the damn mirror.
Nimby, eat the mirror. Don't do what she says.
Oh, for the love of Papa, if y'all don't stop interrupting my time. I say in a straight Quith accent, and then stomp on the mirror as I am staring back at the 1,000-pound canvas. And in my head, it is a beautiful portrait of two halves of one whole, both two halves of like different faces that kind of form like one beautiful like picture of duality. I stomp it and break it proudly as I go back
Nice.
to weeping as I stare at this beautiful piece of art.
I
there
dive
is-
between.
What?
Oh, I was gonna say.
Dive
with the-
between
with
me.
with the back of the mirror. I dive between you and the mirror or the canvas, and protect it, as this is now a thing that I covet, and I do not wish some foreign person from a mirror to possess it.
All this is kind of happening concurrently, and as your foot breaks the mirror, there's a bright flash, and you see the unmistakable, rotund form of Tiffany Bardidley smugly grinning in front of you. Now, ain't that just something? I swear, there's an item for everything. Well, howdy, y'all. New faces, same names, new names. What's going on here?
I just thumb at Pith.
No, I think
I have two of my arms crossed, still trying to stare at this canvas that Vigor sort of blocked. My eyes are still burning from that bright flash, so two of them are kind of rubbing those as I'm trying to get another glance at this piece of art. I'm completely ignoring this interaction because Tiffany seemed so irritated with me last time. So I'm doing my best to pretend that like I didn't even
Oh
notice.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, she was
so I just-
irritated with the stranger that was talking to her
Yeah.
last time.
I was like, that's
Yeah.
Quith's toad. That's Vigor though.
So she
Nimbus, I'm my own man, all right.
she
Try
like
back
kind
with
of
a
takes
little
all this
bit of
in for a second. She's like, I mean, wait, what's that? You can see she like turns around and walks out of the area, just kind of ignoring all of you, and you can hear like low murmurs in the background of her conversing with the voice of sort of this mound, the entity that has been guarding the 1,000-pound canvas for however long. And you just hear the two of them talking as the three of you are enraptured by this painting.
So I just wanted to ask real quick, Vigor, do you like have a flashback to your feelings for Tiffany at all?
No, because she is now I see her as a symbol of gluttony and excess
Oh
and
no.
mass accumulation. And
Yep.
Oh no.
it is through these means that she disgusts me.
Oh
Yeah.
Her
no.
actual accumulation of mass. She wants a giant
Yeah.
1,000-pound canvas.
And no one should possess such a thing. Nothing so magnificent. For it holds in its frame the very picture of fire of creation, and the chaos and the swirling majesty of the universe.
Is
Vigor,
am
that
I
what
gonna
you
let-
see, Vigo? That's definitely not what I see. My picture is far more beautiful than yours, and I kind
Vigor,
of do a little wave of the hand.
you're right next to this canvas, aren't you?
I've gotten I don't know. So I'm imagining that it gives off kind of like that celestial glow. So I'm imagining like all of us have like a glowing at whatever we're facing it and that type of thing. And I don't know if there's any type of heat or anything that comes off, but yeah, I would. Okay, so then yeah, I wanted to get a good distance. I still need swinging room in case Tiffany came in hot and I needed to set the record straight. But yeah, I'm pretty close to it because I'm guarding it. It's precious to me. Yeah.
As you and Pith are talking, and Nimbus is just kind of enraptured as well. The three of you are all kind of arguing in front of this canvas, just enjoying the view, just having fun, and you hear the low rumble of this forest entity talking. And it's saying something, and none of you are quite sure what it's saying. Because you're just so enraptured by this moment and by the canvas, and you're not focusing, and maybe it's speaking in a language you don't know, and then you hear the impossible word ring out like a herald of the unknown. Your vision begins to tunnel as your bodies lose substance, pulled deeper into the wrinkles between knowledge. The spheres whirl around you, motes of iridescent light tracing through the infinite blackness of the humpbacked sky. Your body has abandoned you, and your unshackled consciousness feels the gentle pressure of your companions as thought and memory begin to coalesce around you, and you feel the pressure of gravity on a physical form you long ago forgot. As your being re-enters your primary body, and you begin to drift into fitful slumber, you hear a calming voice in your ear. Welcome back, Sonderlings. Disengaging Troika system. This bio ride has concluded.
Yay!
Nice.
We
And that's
didn't
that.
die again.
You didn't die again. We're so proud of you.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for an
so
excellent game, Danny.
That's that.
Yeah.
That was very fun.
Game over.
I'm definitely. I am curious to know what our third character is. I'm gonna open mine later.
Oh yeah,
check those uncracked sheets.
You can
Right.
check those
Keep them for
uncracked
another
sheets.
game. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Troika. That was
Wow.
a really weird ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
And as weird as it
game.
was,
I like
it could be it could be even weirder. It could be 10 times weirder and still be Troika. I think that's what I
Yeah.
love about the game.
Absolutely, it could have been way weirder.
Yeah. You could also be in a way tamer sphere, you know what I mean? Just with looser rules. I think the game in general was a really delightful, like, if you just want to do storytelling, you just want to get into character, there were so many random things that challenged you to come up with really creative stuff on the spot, just inherent in the way that, like, character rolling is and all of that. I think it was a really good creative ride, I would say.
Yeah.
It was definitely a lot of fun and definitely felt a lot more storytelling based, I feel like, from every direction than something like a D&D game typically does.
Yeah.
Even combat was, yeah, very, very fun. I really like it. The weirdness is delightful. I mean, an amorphous colony of a wall colony of mushrooms
Right.
that's protecting like a giant blacklight lit hideaway 1,000-pound canvas. Yeah, I mean it's pretty good. Big fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just supposed to be weird and wonky.
Yeah.
And that concludes our journey into the Troikaverse,
Yeah.
which has been
Yeah.
a weird experience.
Mm-hmm.
So the Sonderlings are going to take a hiatus. I'm not sure if I will be back for future incarnations. I may be back as a guest. I may just take a break for a while. I'm about to start a new job that's going to just suck my life dry of everything. It's going to
But
be
it's an
awesome, and I'm
exciting
really
new
excited
venture.
about it. Yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
super stoked about it, but it's going to be a lot, and so I'm not going to have time for this. But it's been a blast, and
Oh yeah.
I definitely am like I'm happy with the story we told. I feel like I'm happy to leave it where it sits. And then it's open ended enough that whoever continues this can just kind of do whatever they want with it. Like
Yeah.
there's weirdness there. Um, so I think that's probably going to conclude everything. I think we need to run into inspiration. Although it feels
Yeah.
really anticlimactic to do inspiration after the
The
series wrap.
final one, yeah.
Um,
Well, I will say that for anyone out there listening at home, I know that at least some of us will be back in probably some form after a hiatus to play a different RPG. So keep your eyes and ears peeled on our social media. If you don't follow us, or if you're joining this, listening to this way later down the road, check underneath whatever sort of platform you're listening on. We usually have our social media handles on there. Keep an eye out for any updates. We will likely be back in some form. So inspiration still
Yeah.
stands because I'm going to need it.
get to. Who's
Yeah.
kicking us off with it?
I
feel like we should-
mean,
I feel like we should do a special one and like talk specifically about the one thing that inspired us the most, like over the course of the whole Troika game. Like what was the most inspiring thing that we remember that helped us, whether it was with our characters or just like get in the feel of Troika. Like, and even if we've already done it, let's touch on it again and be like, if I could say this is one thing to look into, like to get you in the right Troika vibe, like
Yeah.
this would be my opinion. What do you guys think?
Okay. I like
I have
that.
no idea what
Actually
that would
really
be.
like that.
I like that. I have one. It's literally sitting right next to me, although I know I've plugged it before. I'll plug it again, and I
Perfect.
feel like it's extremely topical.
Right.
The fungi of the Far Realms, which is, I believe, available on Melsonian and Exalted Funeral, several of like the websites we've plugged on here. I got it gifted to me from the sweet Danny McWilliams who DM'd this game. But it is written by Clements and Zhang, and it is literally Troika compatible. It is just a giant list of a bunch of amazing fungi. So if you do love specifically this last kind of like arc we were taking, I feel like, and that's really my vibe. I mean, come on, I played it rock. I would definitely highly suggest this book or any of kind of the Melsonian arts or Exalted Funeral book expansions that are compatible with Troika. I feel like all of them offer something a little different. I've only really super deep dived into Fungi of the Far Realms because I know Danny McWilliams went deeper on a lot of them, and I didn't want to ruin any surprises for the game. So, but they're all really good. I would suggest really checking out any of those. They're really good.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying really hard to figure out like what my primary Troika inspiration is. So who's next?
Be be honest with the Red Priest. Was your biggest inspiration Sad Cat Diaries? Because you were doing that voice.
Sad Cat Diaries?
Have you not seen those?
I don't think so.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
that's better
Okay,
somehow.
side plug.
You got to
Yeah,
Side
side
plug.
plug.
It's weird because Troika is one of those it's like one of those things that is both super off the wall, but also I think has a dark element to it. not
Yeah.
so dark that it's, distressing, but it is definitely one of those things where it's like a pond pisser is not like, necessarily a light thing like you're pissing in ponds. There's like,
Right.
the paper witch, there's carnivorous things, so there's kind of like a natural brutal element to it as well. And I can't think of something that inspires me in that way, but I do think that Tales of Elethrion, that they do like the reward and the first hero and things like that. They are um, like they get Troika, both Troika and Tails both do when they introduce something, it leaves more questions than it answers. And so I think this game has done really well. It's like you meet a poorly made dwarf and you're like, I have so many more questions. And I know that I'm supposed to know like who you are or things about you per se, or an Arden of Giant, or a Giant of Arda. Like
Ardent
those.
Giant of Corda.
Yeah. Sorry, sorry.
Words are
I'm
hard.
like trying. Well, I'm trying to
That's
like
how weird the
formulate this
names
whole.
are.
Well, I'm trying to formulate like this whole idea, but that's the thing
Yeah.
is that like all of the elements to it make my mind turn. And Tales of Elethrion, when they'll introduce just something in the background that's a creature in the background, or they go to a city, everything sparks more interest and begs more questions. So that would probably be my biggest inspiration, but that's not a dark tale, or gritty in that way. I have another plug, and it's my mom. She sent she got these made, and they're canvas, 1,000-pound canvas. I mean that works, but they're all of our little images from
They're
the
really
games.
adorable.
Look at our
Thank you.
boy.
Thank you, Lee. You're the best.
Yeah, no,
So
that's
good.
awesome.
It's hard for me not to just say the Troika book because they did
You
such a good job.
absolute horrible person, because that was
It's a good
gonna be
one.
mine.
That's a good one.
You are a
It's
bad
true.
person.
Well, with the art, with like the getting in the mood for the like it's its own thing, man. Like
Yeah.
the only other
It
thing that I could
is.
think of that I like attached to was like Super Ani, like the whole like guild of artists that I
Mhm.
went into a rabbit hole on, and I'll always probably associate them with Troika because it was two things that I was experimenting or discovering at the same time. But just the book, the Troika book, the illustrations are so unique and so gorgeous. Like I couldn't
You
help
make.
but try to like
What is
mimic some of the.
this? What is that? It's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, so
There's
good.
so much weirdness and like it's all just one big experience,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
the way the spells are and the way you play the RPG and the way the world is, the universe is, and the illustrations, just like it all goes together into one
Mhm.
big thing.
hmm
Hell yeah.
Dude, I don't know if you guys have seen this illustration, but
Oh,
this
yeah.
one is really good.
Ah,
It's like a
They're
goblin
amazing.
on like a motorcycle with coral, I think.
Yeah.
pull the picture of the dragon.
Oh
I
man.
Oh,
can do that.
the
Because
being of light. Yeah, that's a
because
good one.
dragons are so iconic with every fantasy, every RPG. Like there's such an idea that's ingrained.
Yeah,
And then you look at this thing and you're like, what am I even looking at? Like, is this
Mhm.
yeah.
It
What do
doesn't
I
make
hit?
any sense.
Where do I
yeah,
even hit?
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
So my inspiration is so I discovered Troika because I was on Reddit one day. I was going through issues with the D&D campaign that I was in at the time, which Carly was also a part of. And there was just some interpersonal conflicts that weren't going as well as they could have. And so I was like looking, and as a result of that, I know this has probably happened to a lot of people, but it actually soured me to D&D. Like I didn't want to play D&D. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. And so I was looking into other systems, and I was on Reddit, and I saw an old link to an itch.io sale. Like it was like a bundle, and Troika was a part of it. And I was like, Troika, that name sounds really familiar. So I started doing research, and that's when I found the first video that I sent you, Jacob. Actually, I didn't send it. We watched that together at my house, at my apartment before I got this house.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been about a year. Actually, it's been over a year.
Yeah.
And so we like watched that video and we started planning the concept of doing an actual play. Because originally we'd been planning on doing D&D. Jacob and I were in this from the start, and then Carly and DB got added in later. And we were going to do D&D, and then we were like, why don't we look for an easier system? I had just gotten Troika. I immediately fell in love with it. I hated bringing it up because I was teaching you D&D, and I thought you were going to get really upset about having to learn a new rule set. So all of that to say, follow that weird little thread to its conclusion. Like, you know, when you're looking at something and you're like, that looks like something I should check out, just do it. Like, just unabashedly follow that, because none of this would have happened without me following that weird little Reddit thread and finding an itch.io sale that was over. And so I had, you know, now it was a whole $20 instead of being, you know, like the $3 that the bundle was. And so now I'm like, oh, should I buy it? So I did a ton of research and fell in love with it and bought it. And now I've bought like 4 or 5 copies of Troika and a bunch of other books. And it's like reawakened a bunch of other RPG stuff for me. And it's just gotten weird. So follow that. And on that note, I'm going to say the thing that I've said at the end of every session, and I'm going to say it for the last time with the Sonderlings. Later, nerds.